hope and there is healing. And you're about to hear another story of hope and healing this morning. Our next speaker has truly faced some of life's most difficult challenges, and she has come through them with both strength and grace. Please welcome this morning, Anna. Anna?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, that was nice. Okay. My name is Anna, and I come from a family of 8 siblings. There are 4 boys and 4 girls. I have an older brother named Honolulu, and I am the oldest girl. Then there's Castle, Salome, Matisua, Israel, Amatanga Fo, and our youngest, Rebecca. I have to name them all so you can all hear how much of us there are. We all lived a very ordinary and happy life with my mother. I was very shy, extremely loyal, and a good girl. I loved school and I never got into trouble. That all changed when my father came back home from prison. My childhood was literally stripped away, and I became an instant adult. And for my siblings, their lives were stripped away as well. My father came back from prison when I was 8 years old, and he had just been released, and I remember it being the first time actually living with him. Having him home was the greatest thing, so we thought. And little did I know him coming home was going to change my life. In the first month of my father being home, my father not only sexually molested me, but he also took away my virginity, and I was only 8 years old. It started with just once a week, then it became twice a week, and then it was every day. And for the next 10 years, I lived in fear from my life from my father. For over 10 years, I kept it a secret. He threatened me that if I told, he would kill my mother and my siblings. I wanted to protect them, and the only way I knew how was by keeping my father's abuse a secret so that he wouldn't hurt anyone else but me. Hoping and praying that my father would change, I would forgive him and beg him that it would stop. But it never stopped, and for years, I lived in fear. The day I turned 16, I was pregnant with my father's child. As soon as I found out that I was pregnant, I told my father, and the first thing he said to me was, "Are you getting an abortion?" He wanted me to get rid of my baby, and even had his friend come and try to kill her. But I wanted to keep my baby because, in my eyes, nothing was her fault, and she is innocent. Thank God it didn't work. I then told my father that I'm keeping her, and he said that if I can come up with a lie, I could keep her. I lied, and I said I had a one-night stand with my next-door neighbor. And no one believed me because they know me, and I wasn't a good liar. I was a good girl, and my father took advantage of that. And for that, I kept everything a secret, thinking I was protecting my family and myself. I had my baby when I was 16, during my junior year of high school. And being a mother made me stronger, and I started to speak up for myself. I started to stand up to my father, and I started to say no when he would come to rape me. But that led to repeated beatings. He always threatened me that he would kill my mother. So at times, I would have to give in and let him hurt me, just so he wouldn't hurt her. He stalked me at my job and at school. I wasn't allowed to have any friends. I'm sorry. My father was very controlling, and I became suicidal. Sorry. I didn't want to talk to anyone because I was afraid that my father would go after them and kill them. My older siblings suspected my father was abusing me and told my mother. And over the years, people would ask if my father was abusing me, and I always lied and said no. But one day, I was at work, and my mother came to my job and asked me, and I told her. I couldn't hold it in anymore, and I told her the truth. I was always worried that no one would believe me, but I couldn't take it anymore, and I cried out to my mother, and she took me straight to the Kent police station. The police asked me questions, and I was so tired of lying that I told the truth. I told them everything. The police recommended KCSARC, but I didn't call them. KCSARC called me. I don't think I would have ever called them, and I didn't want therapy because I was scared. I was still afraid people wouldn't believe me, and I was still afraid that my father would kill the people that I love. But apparently people believed me, and police arrested my father in July of 2016. So when KCSARC called, I was ready to get help. Then after I met my therapist, Emily, I knew I was in the right place. It felt so good to tell someone. I couldn't understand why Emily cared for me. I started to become more open with her, and there were days I just cried as she sat there with me and just listened. I had to tell my story and tell it again and again. And every time I told my story, my healing process was just one step closer, and Emily encouraged me every step of my trial before and after. I still had a long way to go with the criminal justice system. It took 2 years, and by the time trial came around, I felt stronger, but still felt ashamed. I still feared my life because of all the threats from my father, and I had to face him in court. He was just sitting there with no handcuffs, in regular clothes. I feared he would just walk out of there waiting for me to be home to beat me once again. And my prosecutor, Celia, she made me a stronger woman and made me realize the strength that I had carried with me throughout all those years. I had to talk about being raped in every car we ever had, in every house we lived in, even in church. Anywhere we were together and alone, he raped me. And I told my story in front of him. I could feel his glares, his anger, but I did it. Sorry. My legal advocate, Carolyn, was my ally and my strength, and so I testified for 2 days. And he was found guilty. My daughter became my strongest proof of what he had done. She saved not only myself, but helped my entire family become free from my father's terror. And growing up, my intention was to take this secret to my grave, because I never thought I would be crying my heart out in KCSARC, nor did I think my father would be in prison. And the last thing I told my father was, "I forgive you." After 2 years of awaiting trial, my father was sentenced to life in prison with no parole. And I can finally say that I'm free now, and I actually know what normal is. Life is better, and I love my baby, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I never thought I could be open with talking about sexual abuse. I never thought I could say those words, let alone in front of 1,000 people today. And without KCSARC, I would not have been able to speak the truth or to fully think like people my age do. My therapist, Emily, for over 2 years, you've taught me what normal is. You literally went into depth and explained to me that it wasn't my fault, and I was a complete stranger, yet you cared so much about me and my pain. There were many days I just came in and cried, and you comforted me, and you reminded me of my worth, and I am forever grateful to you, Emily. And today, if you are going through sexual abuse and you don't know what to do, please call KCSARC. There are people who want to help you become free. Free of pain, of shame, of guilt, of hiding a terrible secret. You deserve it because you are you. It's okay to speak up for yourself, and don't let anyone take away what belongs to you. Father is just a title. You have to live up to it. The two men in my life who defined father, Stephen Rutledge, he's not here today, my very first boss, has been there for me throughout my whole 2-year trial. You have sacrificed so much of your time to listen to my cries. You aren't even my blood family, and you taught me how to be myself. You encouraged me to continue therapy when it got rough. And you changed my perspective on men. And because of you, I know that not all men are like my father. I'm so blessed to have you. And to my Uncle Henry, who has shown me, I need another tissue, who has shown me how a true father treats his kids and his unconditional love to me and my siblings. For taking us in as your own and for giving me the experience of how a father treats his daughter. I could never repay you for filling the hole in my heart caused by my father's actions. I love you so much, Uncle. It's never easy to talk about sexual abuse, but I am willing to stand here before you today as a living testimony to tell you that it's okay to speak up for yourself. And I want you to know that KCSARC is here to help guide you through your healing process and to constantly encourage you through your hardest times. They will believe you. I will believe you. Tell and be loud. Thank you.